Hello, it's Rapid Regeneration, and I'm David Escamilla. I'm not a doctor, not a medical professional. I'm not giving any medical advice or making claims about diseases. This is brought to you by rapidregeneration.com. I'm a regenerative detoxification specialist from the International School of Regenerative Detoxification. This just means that I've formally been educated about basically how the body becomes toxic, how to detoxify it, how to regenerate it. There's so many people who have done this, and I don't think I would be having any interest in this were it not for the fact that I got super ill and was just miserable, and basically for 4 years I suffered horribly, and I thought my life was over, and I lost 99% of hope. And then I found the answers on the internet, thank God, and I implemented some of this stuff, and within 3.5 years I completely recovered. All my symptoms were gone, and I felt healthy and energetic again. So I'm now on a mission to spread that same information, plus all the stuff that I've learned since in over 7 years, as of the time of recording, so that somebody else can help themselves. So now it's important to understand the treatment approach versus the regenerative approach. This is very important. This may seem redundant, or this may seem like, just tell me what to do and just give me some more strategies. This is very important, because here's the thing, is you're going to be, I don't want to say targeted, but you're going to be basically, you're going to come across a lot of different offers and a lot of different propositions and suggestions and, people that are trying to influence you and say, you should do this, you really should do this. And, including myself, I'm not going to say that I'm not trying to help. I am trying to help. I'm only trying to help if somebody wants the help and is interested in this type of help. But you're going to have a lot of people, some with good intentions, some with bad intentions, some with neutral intentions, or some with just their own agendas, and so basically you need to understand the different approaches, because you're going to be pitched on a lot of different types of approaches, and you just need to understand where this is coming from. And this is kind of like breaking out of this paradigm. Now, I need to make a big disclaimer here, because by now, if you've gone through this information, you know what I'm all about, what rapid regeneration is all about. It's about nature, it's about simplicity, it's about promoting wellness, overall wellness, strength, energy, and everything like that. So now, I at the risk of being redundant, I just need to say this. Okay, I don't make any medical claims. I'm not a medical person. If you're interested in medical help, you're in the wrong place. You should not come to David Escamilla or to Rapid Regeneration if what you want is a medical product, a medical service, a medical advice, a medical diagnosis, or anything related to medical. If that's what you are interested in, do not come to Rapid Regeneration or David Escamilla. You're in the wrong place. That is not what's being offered. And so just understand that. I don't make medical claims. I don't give medical advice. I don't make claims or give advice regarding diseases. Diseases, you'll notice I never talk about diseases, because that's a medical concept. And I don't give advice about it or make claims or diagnose or anything like that. Diseases are a concept that belongs within the medical modality. So I don't diagnose, treat, or give advice within those intellectual concepts such as diseases or other medical concepts. Okay, so just making sure we got that out of the way. I know you probably didn't think I was a medical person. I'm sure that was already obvious, but just for the redundancy of it. So what I do, what worked for me personally, what worked for so many people, is a totally different approach to solving a problem, which is looking at the body if it's in a state of degeneration and disharmony, if the body's having some kind of problem, and looking at how to build it back up with regeneration back into a state of harmony. So I look at the body very simply. I look at from a common sense point of view, within the context of nature. Let's look at natural facts. Let's look at natural phenomena. Now, these are things that belong to all of us, not just a certain industry of professionals. This approach, this natural approach, it belongs to all of us, and we all get to use this approach. And that's the amazing power of free will that you get to enjoy. So now what's tough is that here in America, at least, the preeminent philosophy that we're given, this goes back to the approaches. And as you go through your journey of self-healing and cleaning out yourself, detoxing, regenerating, getting yourself into good health and wellness, you're going to be, trust me, approached and persuaded, and all these different things are going to come up. And it's important to know where these approaches are coming from, so you can understand how to make the best decision for yourself. Because here in America, let's go back to when we were children, and basically we were given this philosophy is that you should treat a symptom. If you're having a symptom, treat it. For example, if you're a little kid and you catch a flu, okay, now you have all these symptoms. You have a runny nose, you have a cough, you have a fever. And so basically, then you're given a suppressive drug, pharmaceutical, over-the-counter drug. In some cases, you're given antibiotics, and you're basically treating a symptom. You're treating the symptoms so that the symptoms will reduce and kind of go away. So now that's what we're brought up with. Maybe your mom did that. My mom did that. I mean, it's just our experience. And so now that's simple enough because a flu is considered fleeting and like, oh, it's going to go away. Let's just make it go away faster. But what happens when you become an adult, or whenever you have these issues with the body that happen that are more serious and they're considered more long-lasting? And then what happens is that you get some of these people and they tell you, oh, you know what? You have this problem for life, and you're going to have this chronically. You're going to have this for the rest of your life. And therefore, you just need to live with it until you die. And from now until then, you might as well treat the symptoms of it. Just treat it as best you can. Now, this is just a very common approach. Now, what happens in this equation is what's going to happen is you're going to have drug companies, device companies, and treatment businesses that are going to benefit financially. They're also going to get money from the government, by the way, in so many cases. And they're going to benefit financially. And the individual is going to drift further into treatmentville. That's the whole thing about treatments. It's just treatments. The treatment is the be all end all. The goal is to treat. So basically, that's what's out there. That's what you're going to be hit with, and what you're going to be offered, and what's going to be pitched to you. And basically, what's the nature of this approach? So let's go back to if you're a child and you have this cold, and what is really a cough suppressant? This, by the way, is what got me so sick, is I overdosed on cough medicine. That's a whole other story. I talk about that on the very first episode. But basically, children all over are being given cough suppressants. So what this does is this medication, this drug, it suppresses the lungs, the heart, the sinuses. In fact, it suppresses the entire autonomic nervous system. So meanwhile, the body was trying to get rid of fluids, mucus, or perhaps some type of harmful organism. And yet, it's suppressed. And so these natural functions of the body get halted and they get suppressed. Now, there are some exceptions to this. Like, for example, even the medical people understand that sometimes they should stimulate and not suppress. So you have an expectorant medication that's going to help, that's going to stimulate the body, expectorating mucus. Okay, that would be stimulative, not suppressive. So not everything is suppressive from this kind of treatment-based approach. But a lot of stuff is suppressive. And so, for example, you have a fever. The individual starts experiencing fever. The body starts to heat up. It's killing harmful organisms. The toxins are being sweated out. And then you know what? It gets suggested, hey, take this drug. It's going to extinguish the fever. It's going to suppress what the body's doing. Even though fevers are generally not life-threatening at less than 105 degrees Fahrenheit. So, yeah, a lot of treatments are simply suppressive. Other treatments are going to mask the problem, and they're going to create another problem. Like you have your painkillers, your pain medications. These things can numb the pain, but they create a litany of problems and side effects, both physically and psychologically. And side effects of pharmaceutical products on record are one of the great causes of some of these debilitating problems and just horrific nightmares and even deaths. So this is all part of the treatment-based philosophy. So where does this come from? And it's basically followed like orthodoxy or like religious dogma. And it's just so prevalent. It's amazing. It is, if you have some other idea of how to approach your problem, don't be surprised if you're treated like, oh my God, like you're a space alien with two heads. And people freak out if you have some other idea that's outside of this box. So what is this box, this square that everything is in? It's an orthodoxy, and in my view, the medical doctors are the new priest class. So if you go back to the Middle Ages, you had you could never question the priests. The priests were tied in with the kings, and basically they were part of the same control system of the 98% of the population, the masses, and you had to go to the priest for everything. I mean, they controlled basically everything. You could never go against the priest. That would be like blasphemous if you did that. So today, again, priests are now out of fashion, but the new priest class, they don't wear black smocks. They wear white coats and little stethoscopes. And look, I'm not saying that doctors are bad people. On average, they're really not. They're really not. They're on average good, decent people. They want to help people. And so, but I will say this, and I may get some hate for this. This is just my observation. This is just my level of awareness. My opinion is that the type of individuals who decide to become a medical doctor, on average, I've met hundreds of them in my life. They're typically the type of individual that who does follow rather blindly what he or she is being told to study, to learn, to practice, and to implement. So these are not necessarily the most independent-minded group of men and women here in America. When compared with other segments of the population, you have people in other vocations that are just required to be more free thinking. You have to figure out how to solve problems, and you have to think creatively, and you have to basically figure out how to think to get results, whereas medical doctors are essentially taught what to think. Now, yes, they're given how to think type instructions as well, and they have to figure out things for themselves in their own practice and all that. But they're basically told, if A happens, do B. If B doesn't work, do C. So there's a certain type of individual that's drawn to that rigid type structure. And basically, it seems to me like being a medical doctor it's a good choice if you want a really reliable career, really good job security. You're basically partners with the government, partners with insurance companies, and you're going to have great job security. You're going to have good pay, good retirement. The hours are not terrible. The work is not, not too grueling. And so, but it's not a good vocation for people who are going to question authority, who are going to rock the boat. So, have you ever noticed medical doctors are kind of more often than not, statistically speaking, more just kind of going along and not so independent minded. So basically, what really pains me is a lot of these people don't necessarily know it's going to be like this when they first get into the rites of passage to become part of this class, when they go through academia, when they go through medical residencies, pre-med and everything. They're thinking maybe it's going to be different. But as they go through this information, they're taught these treatments one after the other. And what's been explained to me is that very little time is spent during this educational process explaining why the body has broken down in the first place. And just like how very little time is spent on nutrition, it's most of the time it's spent on just treatments, modalities, and different diseases. And basically, what's presented to in this educational process is that a medical disease. Here's the explanation of why stuff works the way it does in this educational system. Is basically a medical disease can be like assigned to you because you had some bad genes, so it just gets sort of assigned to you, and it's like a life sentence. Or a disease could be something that like you catch. It's almost like bad luck, and you just catch it. And if you catch it, then your body has to just deal with it, and you should just figure out how to treat the symptoms. So this is basically the theory. This is the treatment-based approach. So what's amazing is that, why human tissue breaks down and degenerates is not that complex of an explanation either. And basically that's what the next episode is going to be. It's going to be about understanding body chemistry. But just think, if these sort of med students just reviewed that information alone, they would appreciate the widespread phenomenon of excessive acidic chemistry. And most individuals in the modern world are very acidic. So it's very simple, in fact, what's causing the body to have all these reactions and problems. It's not that hard to figure out. And basically, when you can see, if these same students basically appreciated that the body is suffering from being overly acidic, maybe they would hesitate to then inject the body, radiate the body, or prescribe the body with drugs that are all going to be acidic compounds and having acidic effects into an already acidic body. So, and that's what really is amazing, is that, so many of these products are acidic and acid-based and acid-forming. And acids are very useful for man-made type, artificial, made-up type creations, because the nature of acids is that it can tear things apart and can break things down, and it can do things like that and have a very interventional type effect. And this is a very, very expedient of the whole medical community, because what they do is they expediently want to suppress a symptom, and they will use acidic products to do so. The problem with that is that they're giving acidic products to an individual who's very acidic already. So then you have blowback, you have side effects, you have problems that blow up later. So that's the treatment-based approach. That's basically how that works. So I'm gonna move on now, and my apologies if I'm beating a dead horse, but I want to just quickly explain what's the regenerative approach, and hopefully you aren't bummed out and depressed and feeling negative after covering that. And I really don't want to drag you through the mud by going through a system that a lot of people perceive as broken and doesn't work to really solve problems. It just treats symptoms. But at some point we got to look at it. We got to look into, the nature of reality and really what you're up against and what you're going to be presented with. And so at some point we've got to look at it. This is a $4 trillion a year industry in the United States. I mean, this is just like a huge behemoth that's churning and working. And so you need to understand what's going on in that system and whether or not you wish to participate. So what's the regenerative based approach? Just to switch to a more happy note, the regenerative based approach is completely different. Basically, if I'm using this approach on my own body, I'm going to gain an understanding of why did the body degenerate in the first place. We're going to talk about that in the next episode, understanding body chemistry. And then once I understand what's the source of the degenerated problem, then I can figure out how to solve the problem to bring the body back to full function. So let me just be very clear. This, if I'm using the regenerative based approach, this is my goal. This is a worthy goal. It's a target worth aiming for. I'm not interested in treating a symptom or masking a current problem or swapping one problem for another problem. I am committed to full actualization, to complete regeneration, to complete recovery and elimination of the problem. So that's the goal. I mean, it's a little bit of a different approach. I was once heard the expression that you can't hit a target that you can't see. And that's a very wise expression. And so indeed, what chance do we have of complete recovery when so-called experts are telling us that it's not even possible, so don't even bother, and just treat your symptoms and don't even try to solve the problem because it's not possible. So the regenerative based approach allows for the goal to be formulated to completely solve the health problem and return the body back into harmonious balance. So this is such an important part of the regenerative based approach, is that the goal needs to be formulated. If the goal is never set and it's dismissed that the body could ever actually heal, then the body probably is not going to heal, and it becomes this sad kind of self-fulfilling prophecy. And that's the problem when you tell someone you have 6 months to live or whatever. A person could take that on and they can literally be programmed by their own belief system. So this is one of the big values of the regenerative based approach. It's the intention is set to completely solve the problem. Okay, now that the intention is set, so now you can keep using this approach to figure out what's causing the health problem. And basically, what you want to do is you want to understand the true nature of reality, the universal truths, logic, science about chemistry. Because we're chemical beings, we're electrochemical beings. And then how can you reverse the cause of the conflict? So you can logically apply your discoveries to remove the causes or the inputs that are causing the conflicts or the imbalances within the body. We're going to talk about this in the next segment, which is understanding your body's chemistry. So once these negative causes are removed, then you can simply allow the body's own ability to work unobstructed. And what the body will do is clean, if the negative causes are removed, it will clean, detoxify, regenerate, and heal itself. And basically, at that point, you just sit back as the body does what it does, which is regain balance and harmony, which is what all things in nature do. If you stop giving them, getting in your own way. Now, I've already covered in a different episode, can these natural wellness techniques work for everybody? Can they solve all health problems that are out there? And so I've never claimed that it's going to be able to solve every single problem on the planet. So check out that episode for more about that specifically. But, if it doesn't work, if you try this approach and it doesn't work, then you know what? It doesn't work. And you go back to the drawing board. Now, in my experience working on my own health problems, this method has worked beautifully. And it has done for so many, anecdotally, so many countless other people. And yes, it's amazing. So the method is not especially complicated. It is simple. it's not super intellectual and oh my God, it's very simple, but it's not necessarily easy to implement. So this approach, it's not super widely known. It's certainly not widely promoted. Part of my mission, of course, is getting the word out there and making sure everybody knows about this option, just like you know about other options that are out there. So please, help me do that. If you've tried this for yourself and you're experiencing results, tell somebody about rapidregeneration.com, or tell somebody about somebody else that's sharing the same information. Just, be part of the solution, or be part of this particular solution of this particular approach. This approach is basically just getting out of the way of your own body and allowing nature to do what it does best without being blocked by external obstacles as it has been. So next segment is going to be very tactical. It's going to talk about chemistry of the body, and basically that's the tool you're going to need, is chemistry, to allow nature to do its thing. So make sure to check that out. I'm gonna close with this last important key of the regenerative based approach to solving problems is the appreciation of nature. Nature exists by means of simple laws and principles, concepts of duality, balance, and cause and effect. We too are part of this natural equation of all of creation. We should not forget that, and it would be wise to humble ourselves and respect the power of this simplicity. We should hold our awareness and gratitude as we maintain this approach to allow for natural regeneration. So thank God that this phenomenon exists. And if you feel up for it, try it for yourself. And if it works for you, let me know. If it doesn't, let me know. And keep learning, keep checking out the upcoming segments. Stay strong. And that's all for now.
For more information, please follow @Rapid Regeneration or visit rapidregeneration.com.